Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start. My name is John Zuccotti. I am the Master of Ceremonies today, so please take your seats or stand. And we're so happy to have you with us today on this momentous occasion. We are literally today building a bridge. And on that bridge we will build office buildings, retail center, and residential housing as well. To the west of us is the Hudson Yards. To the east of us is the Moynihan Station under the direction of the Port Authority, and Pat Foy is here today. I'd like to take this opportunity, if the mayor and the borough president will give me a chance before I introduce the two of them, to introduce some of the other people who have joined us here today who are so important in the development of this particular site. We have our good friend Pat Foy from the Port Authority who's here and who we are working with on a variety of issues related to the development. And as I said, Pat's in charge of the Moynihan Station, which will be our new temple of transportation equal to the Grand Central Station and will replace the lost Pennsylvania Station. Work is already underway on the Moynihan Station. We have Ann Weisbrod, who is the president of the Hudson Yards Development Corporation, and I will come back to that when I introduce the mayor to give you an idea of how important the whole development has been and will be to the future of the city of New York. We have representatives from Deputy Mayor Steele's office. We have the district manager of Community Board number 4, Bob Benefato. We have the Friends of the High Line, Peter Mullen. And we have two of our own people here today, a very important, Rick Clark. Rick Clark is the CEO of Brookfield Property, which is all of our properties in the world, which are extensive. And we have Dennis Friedrich, who is the CEO of Brookfield Office Properties, which is our commercial property wing. Now, today we are launching a project which is as important to the city of New York as the covering over of Park Avenue, which occurred in the 1920s when the New York Central converted to electric lines and Park Avenue was covered over, and in fact it was in fact the start, the stimulus for years of development. And in that respect, I overlooked mentioning that we have the representative of Amtrak here, and Melissa, you didn't give me the name on my piece of paper. However, I will tell you, Joe Boardman, who was the head of Amtrak, he was terrific because we couldn't have built this platform today if it hadn't been coordination and cooperation with Amtrak. And it is Amtrak that will be the primarily occupant of the Moynihan Station to our east. Now, today, I have the privilege of introducing the mayor of the city of New York. And since this is his last year, and probably I'll never get a chance to introduce him again, I'm going to use a little bit of your time and some license to let you know how important his efforts have been and how they have brought us here today. I have always admired Michael Bloomberg, and I'll tell you why. I've admired him because of his leadership and his political courage. I worked for a third of my life in the city of New York, and I noticed that mayors were very reluctant to get involved in education. It was this kind of a thing. And Michael Bloomberg stepped up to the plate. He showed political courage and leadership. He took on the question of education. And that has characterized his whole effort over the last 11 years. He has shown vision, determination, and leadership in all sorts of areas. From the very first year he was mayor, he focused on the question of West Side development. He understood that the important thing was to establish the link between Battery Park City and stimulate development all the way to Riverside Park. In fact, he has been the leader in bringing about what we have here today. We are here celebrating the mayor's sense of direction and dedication in that effort, because with his able deputy, Dan Doctoroff, and with the support of Chairperson Amanda Burden, the area was rezoned, the opportunity for development arose, and we in the private sector who are responding today would not have had the chance to respond if the mayor and his team hadn't shown the leadership that we are benefiting from today. Let me say this. We already have parks, thousands of units of apartments under construction, new transportation facilities, a park in the sky with the High Line. That's today. Imagine where we'll be in the future. The future of the city, in fact, is ensured because the mayor has shown dedication, vision, and has recognized the need to adjust our city for the realities of the 21st century. In 10 to 15 years from now, I invite you all to come back here and see our new city. And I believe that Michael Bloomberg will be remembered. He will be remembered as the man, the mayor who rebuilt New York City. And he will be and have provided the most significant, defining, and enduring contribution to the modern era of New York City. I give you the mayor of the city of New York, Michael Bloomberg.
And that from the only living New Yorker who has a park named after him, and a park that is famous around the world. John, if you had to do it all over again, Zuccotti Park, wonderful. That was very nice to him to say that, but the truth of the matter is it is people like Dr. Off and Burden and everybody that's come after them. Today it's Burden still around, Pinsky and Steele. It's a lot of people. It's cooperation with the borough president and from the city council and the great speaker of the city council, Chris Quinn. It is help from the governors that we've had and the legislators in Albany and from Washington. Nobody does anything by themselves. And it's also particularly true that it is the New Yorkers, the average person, who stood up. People want this city to survive. They want it to grow. They want it to get better. They want our education system to get better and us to have jobs. And when the public wants something, democracy ain't perfect, doesn't work smoothly all the time, doesn't work quickly many times, but it does work, and I think you see that. And I could not be more optimistic about the future of New York. Anyways, let me talk a little bit about the platform over the West Side Rail Yards that we're breaking ground for on today. It is not only going to be a remarkable piece of engineering, it also takes us a big step forward in the transformation and rebirth of the far west side of Manhattan. This is a platform over this part of the rail yards, and hopefully in the not very distant future, maybe in months, we can announce the platform on the other side of this going forward. But as John said, from Battery Park to Riverside Park, it is just amazing how much development there has been all along the west side, an area that everybody thought did not have the potential to become a hot neighborhood with the fancy restaurants that everybody wants to go to and the trendy restaurants that everybody wants to go to and the restaurants that don't cost very much money but we all went to when we were in high school or in college. Every part of New York is growing, but the far west side really is doing it from the bottom to the top. This platform will support Manhattan West, which is a state-of-the-art 5.4 million square foot development, and that development includes 2 new office towers, a residential tower, new shops and restaurants, and 1.5 acres of new outdoor space. It is also going to be a job creator right at the time we really do need jobs. More than 600 construction jobs for the platform construction alone. And when the platform is completed in 2014, and last time I checked my calendar, that is only a year from now, it will allow for the remaining construction of Manhattan West to begin and to put us on track to receive tenants in 2016. And that will bring thousands more additional construction jobs and inject even more new life into a neighborhood that is poised to take off in really every way you can measure. By building this platform, Brookfield Properties is making a major investment in the future of the Hudson Yards area, and there's every reason to think that will prove to be an extremely wise investment. Manhattan West will be a prime location in which to live or work, a vital piece of the mixed-use community we've envisioned for the Hudson Yards area, which is beginning to take shape, and a few blocks to the west of the development of the beautiful Hudson River Park. It's very close to the High Line Park, which will connect Manhattan West to the culture, shopping, and nightlife of Chelsea. Manhattan West, as John pointed out, and you can see when you're looking behind me, easily accessible from the east via Penn Station as well as Moynihan Station, where work is already underway. And the open space at the center of the development will form a pedestrian-friendly link between those mass transit hubs and Hudson Yards, the High Line, and the Hudson River Park. So Manhattan West is going to capitalize on the tremendous growth potential that this area has, potential which our administration has worked hard to unlock, and that started, as John said, back in the rezoning of 2005 of the Hudson Yards District and continued with the investments in the High Line, Hudson Park, and Boulevard, and the extension of the number 7 subway line. Pat, let me remind you, a subway line paid for by city dollars when the state wouldn't come through, but in all fairness, built by the Port Authority, on budget, on schedule. So when you ever criticize anybody for building things, let me tell you, the Port Authority has done a spectacular job on the number 7 line extension, and thank you to you and to your predecessors and all the staff of the Port Authority. It really is going well. This neighborhood is gaining momentum. We're beginning to see our vision come to life in a big way. More than $6 billion worth of private projects already been completed in the Hudson Yards area since '05. A major development project like Manhattan West, as it gets completed, more jobs, more customers for local businesses, more reasons for us to call the far west side a home. That number is going to rise even higher, and I don't think there's any question but that the best is yet to come for the far west side, and that is great news for all New Yorkers. Manhattan West is a big part of the future, and I want to thank Brookfield Properties, particularly our friend John Zuccotti, who has, as he pointed out, worked for this city for an awful long time. It's pretty hard to look at any part of this city that John Zuccotti didn't have a hand in helping develop. And also CEO Dennis Friedrich and Chairman Rick Clark for helping us write this bright new chapter in the history of this area. And I also wanted to thank some elected officials, Assembly Member Richard Gottfried and State Senator Brad Holman, Congressman Jerry Nadler, but particularly our borough president, Scott Stringer. Scott is out there, and he really has been working for this city since he came into office. And this is, every project requires lots of people, and Scott's help has really made a big difference, as has, as I said before, Chris Quinn and the City Council. So thanks to the Hudson Yards Development Corporation and Ann Weisbrod, as well as Port Authority Executive Director Pat Foy, who really is doing a great job for all of us, not just in this project, but on all the things that the Port is doing. And everybody that's made this day possible, congratulations to everyone that's writing a new chapter in the city's history. And as John pointed out, when I am in my 80s and come back in the 10 or 15 years you talked about, I expect to see this being just we'll look back and say, wasn't it quaint? They thought that was a big deal. But each thing builds on the other, and there's nothing but good coming out of this project for New York City. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And now I'd like to introduce the Borough President of Manhattan, Scott Stringer. The Borough President's job is a very difficult one because he's close to the community boards and because there is always difficulty in providing the kind of support for development when people think their neighborhoods are going to be changed in an adverse way. he has been a champion of trying to compromise these conflicting goals, and he's been very successful and very supportive. The Borough President of Manhattan, Scott Stringer.
Well, let me start out by saying, Mr. Zuccotti, that these Manhattan community boards, folks are very shy. They don't really give their opinions very often. I see them over there, but I do want to say thank you to Community Board 4. Chris Quinn and I would certainly say that a lot of the progress on the far west side is really because the community has taken the long view and has been a collaborator on so many of these issues. I think we should give them a big round of applause. They really make a difference. And I'm actually very humbled to be here today because this is a big day for Brookfield and for West Siders and for the whole city. But when you think about the challenges the city has faced, especially as it relates to our economy, and you start by recognizing the amazing contribution of John Zuccotti, especially back in the 1970s when people said you couldn't do business in New York, the city was done, and we had to move on. It was folks like John Zuccotti who set the stage for a lot of the progress we've made. And I want to give you a big round of applause, sir, because we respect you a great deal. And of course, as borough president, I've really had an opportunity to collaborate with Mayor Bloomberg on a lot of these issues. And one of, I think, the great success stories of his administration is going to be that they were not afraid to take chances. They were not afraid to build. They were not afraid to step up and do magnificent things as it relates to the landscape of our changing skyline. And I do want to thank Mayor Bloomberg. I know we're going to be going to a lot of groundbreakings in the next few months, and every one of them we should remember your amazing contribution. So I'm really proud to be here. This is another great project that will create jobs, spur economic activity, and it's a great day for this city. Thank you very much.
Now I'm going to introduce you to Dennis Friedrich, who is the CEO of Brookfield Commercial Properties. But I can't resist telling you a little bit about this particular piece of property because it does illustrate how long it takes to develop things in New York City. And that's not because of the city. It's because of the difficulty of time and circumstance. But Olympia and York, our predecessor company, acquired this property in 1984. And a young man in the leasing department had as his job doing an analysis of the site, of what it would return, and what its prospects were. Now that young man is sitting here today as the CEO of the whole company of all of our real estate in the world, Rick Clark. So it was worth waiting for. Okay, Dennis, you're on.
Thank you, John. I hope the numbers work a little better than they did in 1985. I think they probably will. Thank you, Borough President Stringer, and thank you, Mayor Bloomberg, for your kind words and your great support and strong leadership. We stand here today on the future site of Brookfield's Manhattan West development, which will take its place at the front door of a thriving new neighborhood, the Hudson Yards District. A neighborhood that is growing both in reality and potential, as we've heard today from the mayor and others, a number of investment of over $6 billion since 2005, which is a very impressive number. Manhattan West will serve as a much-needed expansion of the Midtown Central Business District, assuring that the tenant base in the future will be able to secure a highly efficient, state-of-the-art, environmentally friendly office space to grow their business. The 5 million square foot project is strategically located to create a very, very critical link between the transportation hubs to the east of us, Penn Station, and the future Moynihan Station, and the rest of the Hudson Yards district. And importantly, it also creates an important link to the Chelsea, the energy that Chelsea represents in terms of residential, retail, cultural excitement, and this site will be crucial in bringing the more traditional Midtown location together with Chelsea. With nearly 2/3 of the 5-acre site currently an active rail yard, we've commenced construction on our platform, as you've heard today, and we're celebrating that today. Initially, we planned a platform which involved a very elaborate system of structural steel down at the track level. We challenged our engineering teams and our construction teams, and they got very creative and came up with a new system and new plan, which is called a precast segmental bridge system. You can't say that 3 or 4 times too fast. What it did, very importantly, is it minimized the disruption to the track levels down below, and it enabled us to get the project done quicker and cheaper. In fact, to the right of the dais is one of the segments which the Port Authority helped us get over the bridge this weekend. This will be an actual segment that will be used on the deck, and we were asking everyone at the end of the program if you could take an extra 5 minutes to sign the segment. It is going to be an important memory, I think, for all of us. We'd like to thank Amtrak, Metropolitan Transit Authority, and the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in working with us. Your commitment, your level of cooperation enabled us to get agreements in place last year so we could move forward and employ the new bridge system technology. Necessity was not only the mother of invention on this project, but invention was also the mother to the site design, which will support a 1.5-acre public space through the middle of the project. We promised, John, not to name it Zuccotti Park North, so you can come enjoy it when it is completed. We're going to have 3 planned towers, as the mayor indicated, 2 office towers of roughly 2 million square feet and a residential tower, which will be anchored actually in the terra firma, but the platform will act as the common areas. The platform will be completed in late 2014 with office construction to start upon securing anchor tenants for the first building. We are right now in negotiations with a number of potential tenants. We're very encouraged at the level of activity we're seeing this early in the project's life. We'll be in a position when the platform is complete to turn over space to tenants in the first state-of-the-art building in a 2016 timeframe, which we think is going to be a period which represents strong growth at that point. Financing for the deck is also complete with a $340 million construction loan secured from a group of banks, including HSBC Bank, Bank of New York Mellon, TD Bank, U.S. Bank, the Bank of Nova Scotia, and Wells Fargo Bank. I'd want to thank our valued banking relationships, many of which are here today, for the commitment to the project. Your commitment to the project only bolsters our confidence in investing in this neighborhood and project. The initial land and platform will cost roughly $680 million over the upcoming years. Brookfield will be investing $340 million into the project. I'd like to say, which I think the mayor and others are likely happy, that no public subsidies were required for us to move forward on this. Construction will result in immediate jobs and additional tax revenue for New York City and New York State. I'd like to thank the numerous consultants that have assisted on the project. I'm not going to go through the very long list. It'll sound like an Oscar speech. But I would like to single out a few folks, the master architect Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, and also our platform consultant Intuitive, who came up with the very smart idea to employ the bridge technology. Although John did throw out some accolades to Rick Clark, before closing my remarks, I do want to especially acknowledge his contributions to this project, not only as a young analyst in 1986, but as the CEO through the middle part of last year. Rick's determination, his tireless efforts really got us to the point we're at today, where I can take full credit moving forward, or full blame, I guess. But he really does deserve a round of applause for his contributions to this project. This is an exciting day for Brookfield and the city of New York. Manhattan West, a large-scale mixed-use development, will be part of the new landscape and cityscape in New York, which is what makes New York such a special place. I know I very much appreciate, on behalf of Brookfield, everyone who tuned out today on a somewhat nippy morning. I'd like to, and again, invite everyone to sign the segment if you have an extra few minutes, so you'll be an important part of the event. Also, we will continue to serve refreshments at the back end of the seating area. Again, thank you for coming today, and that concludes our formal part of the program.